big and hit their dreams. But I'm sorry, Colin Kaepernick dreaming big is not the same as Martin Luther King dreaming big to end racism and end segregation and end discrimination, all that, because Colin Kaepernick wore socks that said cops are pigs. Colin Kaepernick wears shirts that support terrible regimes in other countries that are communist. And Colin Kaepernick, and, fill in the blank, he has donated money to really awful things. And it just rubs me so wrongly that he is now the face of everything that is good and holy about if you are going to not be a racist in this country. It's so wrong. It is just so wrong. And so for Nike as a shoe company and as a brand that I have liked for a long, long time, because they do make comfortable shoes and they do look, I'm not going to go down this road, but I actually heard some, sports analysts actually laughing about it, saying, hey, I wonder if Colin Kaepernick has went and looked into where Nike is manufacturing a lot of their shoes and what the, young, possibly child laborers are getting paid and what working conditions they have and on and on and on. And it's like, look, this thing just reeks of in-your-faceism and just, Justin, I don't know. I mean, look, I know you're a big Nike fan. You're a shoe collector. You're a Jordan guy. And this has nothing to do with Jordan, really. But, you're a fan of Nike. So let me just kind of get off the pedestal for a moment. Let me calm myself down. I'd be curious to know, as someone who's entrenched in the world of collecting Nike shoes and understanding their value and, really understanding the different editions and special editions that are out and all the stuff that Nike does that's really kind of neat in the athletic world. Now that they've jumped into this politics and said, okay, we stand with Colin Kaepernick, despite the fact that he sucks at football. And oh, by the way, Tim Tebow had about the same skill set and people laughed him out of the league. You don't see him crusading to get another job, but Colin Kaepernick's black and he has an afro now. And it's all this great thing that until he gets another starting job, if you just don't support him, you're an absolute racist. Nike latching onto that just drives me nuts. Justin, where are you at with this?
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. The one thing about Nike is they have always leaned more as a very liberal company, even thinking back to the move they made with Manny Pacquiao years ago when he came out with homophobic comments. They were quick to cut ties with him. They stayed with Tiger Woods despite some of the things that he was going through in the media when every other sponsor that he had dropped him. Nike has a LGBT collection that comes out every year, part of their Pride collection. They do an N7 collection that's kind of based on Native Americans and trying to bring more awareness there. So Nike has always leaned more in that pathway. I think, Eric, that obviously this campaign, it's taken a little bit of time to put together, but I think this has a lot to do, and I talked about this on Twitter. I teased it a little bit about following the money. And the reason I said that is, if you follow shoe companies in the U.S., not a lot of people do, but Adidas has been a company that has had double-digit growth for 9 straight quarters, and they're probably going to make it 10 here very soon. They have been growing. Now, do they have the revenue that a Nike does here as a company worldwide and in the States? No, but they have shown a tremendous amount of growth, and they've done it in that younger demographic with some of the products that they have. Who is the biggest face right now for Adidas, especially in the U.S.? It's Kanye West. And Kanye West has been talked about in the media. He's gone on Jimmy Kimmel. He's done a lot of things with social media talking about his support for Donald Trump. So that has sort of swung Adidas more over to the right. Maybe not as a company, but that's what it looks like when your face is out there talking about that. And here comes Nike swinging theirs back to the left. I think this has a lot more to do about trying to position their company with a demographic that they've been getting pounced on by Adidas. And I think it's trying to release some type of an ad to sort of rekindle that. Like, no, we're the trendier company. We support a guy like Colin Kaepernick. Your guy over here with Adidas, he's out there talking about Donald Trump. I think that has something to do with it. Yeah, this probably was in the works a while ago, but it doesn't take a lot. The whole Kanye West and the Kardashians and some of their relationship with Trump and how they've sort of supported him, that's been out there for a while. So I feel like Nike pounced on this opportunity to go in a different direction. And again, I talked about it on Twitter. What's confusing to me is the fact that Nike wanted to be part of the NFL. And they make a lot of money off of selling merchandise. Every single jersey that you've seen sold, well, that's legitimately sold, not from some black market, but everything that you see in a store has a Nike logo on it. All the team apparel basically has Nike logo on it. So they're making a lot of money from the NFL. And then sort of to go against that and support Kaepernick, to me, number one, that makes no sense. Because how can you be a partner with the league and then continue to make them money, make these owners money, and then also play the side with Kaepernick? That's one problem I have. The second thing I have a problem with is using the word sacrificing in an ad. We know what this is about. This is about Colin Kaepernick kneeling and about the fact that there's a lot of people, specifically military members and their families, not all of them, but a good portion of them, and a good portion of other patriotic people in this country that felt like that was disrespectful to the flag and to what it stands for and the lives that have been lost fighting for it. That is sacrificing. When you go overseas and you come back in a casket with a flag over it, that is sacrificing. Those families that lost their loved one, lost a spouse, lost a son or daughter, that's sacrificing. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee and probably getting a 6 or 7 figure monetary deal from Nike to be their face, that's not sacrificing, Eric. Colin Kaepernick wasn't playing in this league when he was kneeling. And when he did, he was awful. And you can go back and look at the stats. And all these dumbasses that want to keep getting on TV and saying how great Colin Kaepernick is, go back and look at his statistics. When he had opportunities, he was terrible. The Denver Broncos gave him an opportunity. They wanted to see him take a reduced pay cut, something we see all the time. We just talked about it with Le'Veon Bell, that the Steelers did not want to pay him. This is a business. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with a skill set. They felt like Kaepernick wasn't worth starting quarterback money. They offered him a spot to come in and be a starter just to take reduced money. He didn't want to do it. Now he's jobless. So I don't want to continue to hear about all this stuff. The Ravens were interested in him. You highlighted that. The Seahawks were interested in him. Supposedly he didn't want the deal because, again, if you go back through in a world where when you put something on social media, it's there forever. Spike Lee came out and congratulated the Seattle Seahawks for making such a great move in signing Colin Kaepernick. And then all of a sudden it came out that nobody reported was the fact that Kaepernick turned that down in hopes that social pressure would land him a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal. And it just didn't happen because his skill set and the potential that what he was bringing to a franchise in terms of just the disruptive nature in a locker room just didn't mesh. So this whole thing, Eric, that Nike did, I don't agree with it at all. If they want to do something, do it separate. Because like you said, people that have lost limbs, people that are out there fighting disabilities, they didn't have the option. That's something they didn't have the option of giving up. They're trying to fight with that. Colin Kaepernick could have done this many different ways. And if he was still in the league and he hadn't done this and maybe he's still a backup, he still would have had a platform to bring attention. He's all about now just playing, like you said, just playing this card of like, well, if you don't agree with Colin Kaepernick, you're right. I just don't understand enough of what he's trying to do. At least guys like Malcolm Jenkins, they've gone to the Capitol. They've met with lawmakers. They're trying to have a positive influence. I just don't see where Kaepernick has done that same stuff. And again, you highlighted very well of some of the missteps that he's had. And again, it's hard to believe in a guy that does those kind of things, a guy that thinks it's okay to wear a Fidel Castro shirt and then want to lecture everybody else on certain things. Go talk to the people of Cuba about social justice and see what happens there. It's a completely different situation. So I don't buy into it. I don't like the ad. If Nike wanted to do something with him, fine. Use a different language. Take the word sacrificing out. You can put something in there about doing what you believe in. But come on, with this topic, using that word sacrificing, Eric, I think that is a slap in the face to anybody who has lost a loved one fighting for this country, anyone who's been in military service that's been in harm's way. It's a slap in their face. And Nike, as a company that, let's say 2 weeks ago, if you like Nike, you like Nike. Now all of a sudden, people are going to start making decisions about it. I don't see how that is good for their brand at all. Because the people that support Nike, they're going to continue to support Nike. And the people now that are pissed off at them, they're going to go find shoes and apparel somewhere else. And I don't think the people that support them, Eric, are going to be able to make up for what they lose.
Yeah, Justin, again, all great points. I think here's the thing that really bothers me from an emotional standpoint. And look, listeners can hear me and hear you. We're fired up about this. And I understand that you and I are both white, middle-aged men from a middle income. We both grew up in homes that weren't broken. We both grew up in what would be considered rural suburbia. We don't have the level of information or knowledge about what it's like to be growing up in a broken home in an urban population amongst guns and violence and drugs and other things that a lot of these athletes have overcome. And they like to seek for better ways for a lot of those individuals who are in those environments. I am all for that. I hate the fact that they want to tie a message or an individual, and like you said, the word sacrificing, to a campaign and put me in a position where I actually have to be defensive about something. And it turns into, well, either you agree with it or you don't agree with it. And if you don't, then, well, you are X, Y, or Z. And the word racist gets thrown around. I hope, and what's in my heart is that I'm the furthest thing from racist. It really breaks my heart that we're at this point in our country. And look, I understand that from leadership and from entertainment and from a lot of different avenues socially in this country, there are a lot of injustices. There's no doubt about it. But there are also a lot of white people that care very deeply about fixing these problems, and they still may not like this particular advertisement. And that doesn't mean that they're racist. I just find it to be so divisive that when we continue to put these things out there and force people to be on one side or the other so that we can paint the population with a very broad brush with huge strokes and basically put people in these categories, that really, really bothers me. And I think that's what this ad did. And I think that's why I'm so offended by it. Because look, if LeBron James or Benjamin Watson or you name it, JJ Watt or others called me up and said, hey, would you want to be a part of this program and this solution down in inner city, wherever part of America, raising money, raising food, raising education, raising skill sets, raising knowledge, whatever the case is for individuals of lower means or lesser income or minority status in terms of their race, ethnicity, religion. Again, I'm all for it. I would be a part of that. I would be more than happy to sit down with President Trump and LeBron James and the Golden State Warriors and whoever and have a conversation around a table to see if we could get some of those things figured out and get programs put in the right places. I'm talking apolitically. I know Trump's, in the White House and he's a politician right now, but I'm talking apolitically, not leftist, not rightist, not liberal, not conservative, let's look for solutions. But if you want to pin an advertisement on me and force me to make a choice that I agree or disagree with the word sacrificing, or that Colin Kaepernick is chasing a dream, that he has this vision, this great vision, and he very well might have a great vision for all of these things that he talks about. But he has demonstrated through his actions and through his words on other occasions that it doesn't really align. And so that's the issue I have. And I think we need to come to a point in America where we can have conversations among different genders, ethnicities, races, religious backgrounds, sexual preferences, orientations, because I have people in all of those categories that I know and love. And I'm more than happy to have conversations, but I'm not more than happy to be put on the wall and have darts thrown at me because someone says, well, you didn't agree with that ad, so you're a racist.
Yeah, it's a great point. And look, you and I have had conversations just about when there is social injustice, when these things happen. And the one difference that we always have in our conversations is we always try to think of solutions. What could be done to avoid the situation? What can be put in place to make this stuff happen, to actually create change so that there isn't innocent lives that are being lost over traffic stops and over misunderstandings? Those type of things are ridiculous, and they are not things that we want to see. As people that have kids and start to think about them growing up, we don't want them to have a misunderstanding and not come home to us. We understand that those type of things we don't want to see take place. that's the one thing I feel like I don't really see with this situation, and specifically with Kaepernick.